You 28 and 17. It says, "Thou hast defiled thy sanctuaries by the multitude of thine iniquities, by the iniquity of thy traffic. Therefore will I bring," like I said, we was part of that traffic. We was part of that slave trade, part of that commerce that they was bringing in. They were bringing us in to work on these plantations and to work on these different indigo farms and work in these sugarcane fields and work in these cotton fields. We're part of that traffic that Esau was bringing in. "Therefore will I bring forth a fire from the midst of thee, it shall devour thee." Where is that fire coming from? From that nuclear destruction. Alright? "And I will bring thee to ashes upon the earth in the sight of all them that behold thee." All they, meaning what? They ultimately gonna get burnt up. Like Jeremiah 51:25, "I will make thee a burnt mountain, and I will destroy him which destroyed the whole earth." Because Esau destroyed the whole earth through his wickedness. You understand? Through his rape, through his rob. He took people's nationality. In Revelation 18 and 2, that he took the souls of men. Or he took our mind state. He took our well-being. He has to pay for all of the crimes that he's done from the time of Abel to the time of 2017. "All they that know thee among the people shall be astonished at thee. Thou shalt be a terror, and never shalt thou be any more." Because Esau's never going to rise back up into power again. "Again, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Zidon and prophesy against it." Now this Zidon is talking about is going into Esau too. This is all a parable. Tyre and Zidon are the same thing. "And say, Thus said Yahweh, Behold, I am against thee, O Zidon, and I will be glorified in the midst of thee. And they shall know that I am the Lord when I shall have executed judgments in her and shall be sanctified in her." Because the whole world is going to know that the Most High rules in the kingdom of men when he destroys his top nation off of the face of the earth. When he executes his judgments in them, he executes that famine, executes their economy collapsing, execute their stock market going down, execute World War III escalating. You understand? When he executes his judgment in the sight of Babylon, people are going to know that this isn't anything normal. It's nothing natural. This is supernatural, and it's coming from the Most High who rules in the kingdom of men. Okay? "For I will send into her pestilence." Like I said, this is those judgments. "And blood into her streets. And the wounded shall be judged in the midst of her by the sword upon her on every side." Because there's going to be a plethora of nations that rise up against Babylon to destroy her. "And they shall know that I am the Lord." And here's the point I wanted. Listen to this. "And there shall be no more a pricking briar unto the house of Israel, nor any grieving thorn of all that are around about them that despise them, and they shall know that I am the Lord." So these ancient Tyre and Zidon, these Canaanites, they were always doing is being pricking briars and thorns unto us. Meaning what? If you walking through a nice field, you understand, then you can easily run through that field. But if you got thorns and briars all over there, you're going to get poked, you're going to get cut, you're going to start bleeding, you're going to be wounded. So these nations are spiritual briars and thorns, or this Canaanite nation of Tyre and Zidon, your modern day Tyre and Zidon, and those ancient Canaanites, they was pricking thorns and briars unto us. Through their philosophies, you understand, through their customs, through the laws that they would enforce on us. So that's how America is. And the Lord said he's not going to make America, because that's what this is talking about, this 20th chapter. He's not going to, we're talking about Esau. He's not going to make these Canaanites more of a pricking briar upon the house of Israel, nor any grieving thorn of all them that are round about them. Right, so the Most High is going to destroy Esau, and they're not going to be able to be a snare unto us. All right, and this is talking about Esau, but back during the time of I believe it's Numbers. Let me bring this out. Numbers 33. I went to Slovakia. Numbers 33 and 55, I believe. Yeah, listen to what the Lord said. Let me start at 54. "And ye shall divide the land." This is talking about the land of Canaan, or the land of Israel. "And ye shall divide the land by lot for an inheritance among your families. And to the more ye shall give the more inheritance, and to the fewer ye shall give the less inheritance." Like Benjamin and Levi. Levi really didn't have an inheritance, and Benjamin had a small inheritance. Judah had a nice inheritance. Gad had a nice inheritance. "Every man's inheritance shall be in the place where his lot falleth, according to the tribes of your fathers they shall inherit. But if ye will not drive out the land, drive out the inhabitants of the land from before you, Then it shall come to pass that those which ye let remain of them shall be pricks in your eyes and thorns in your sides, and shall vex you in the land wherein ye dwell. So the Most High said, if you don't drive out those Canaanites, they're always going to be a prick and thorn and a briar unto you. They're always going to be that anointed cherub that covereth. They're always going to be there to keep you away from the tree of life. They're always going to be there. You're going to be following their philosophies. Like our people, they follow Christmas. That's a snare and thorn unto them provided by these Canaanites. They follow Christianity. That's a snare and a thorn unto them provided to them by these modern day Canaanites. Back then, we worship Molech. You understand? We did the works of the Canaanites. Our people would approach people near of kin unto them. They would be marking their body, destroying their beard, because those are works that the Canaanites did of antiquity or in the ancient world. And all of those sins were snares unto us as a nation of people, and that led to our downfall. So the Lord told you in Ezekiel 28, he's going to destroy Esau, and they're no longer going to be a snare unto us. He's going to destroy these Canaanites, and they're no longer going to be a snare unto us because they're going into slavery. Fulfilling a curse in Genesis, the 9th chapter, a servant shall he be unto his brother, because these Canaanites are going into slavery. And I'm going to show you in Leviticus 18 that those what the Most High told us. 18:3. After the doing of the land of Egypt wherein ye dwelt, shall ye not do, and after the doing of the land of Canaan, whether I bring you, shall ye not do. Neither shall ye walk in their ordinances, ye shall do my judgment to keep my ordinances to walk in therein. So some of the stuff that they was doing, it tells you when you read this chapter, they was looking at the nakedness of their son, their daughter. They was going into incest. You understand? They was lying. Look, they was lying with mankind, man on mankind, or man on man. They was, and thou shalt not let any of thy seed pass through the fire to Molech. I showed you that these modern day Canaanites worship these Canaanite gods. All right, they was committing adultery. Thou shalt not lie carnally with thy neighbor's wife. They was going into bestiality. Thou shalt not lie with any beast, defile thyself therewith. America follows all of these customs. They go into, you could be, they have bestiality legalized. You understand? You could be a homosexual. You could lie with mankind here. These are the works of Canaan. Here you can lie with your neighbor's wife. You may get your ass beat by the husband, but you're not gonna get put to death. You understand? Now these are the works of the Canaanites that they were doing. Alright, here they have incest. You understand? All of that stuff is legal. All of that stuff is normal. You understand? It's legalized here. Look at this. You can look at the nakedness of your father and the nakedness of your mother. You have nudist and nudist beaches here in Babylon. So these are all of the wickedness and the works of Canaan that the Lord said would be thorns and snares unto us. That's why the Lord has to destroy that anointed cherub that covereth, because that's symbolic for Esau, and it's twofold because it's symbolic for that ancient Canaanite nation during the time of Adam, during the time of Joshua and the Judges, and also during the time that we live in now, because these modern day Canaanites are snares and thorns unto us. That's what the Lord said he has to destroy that Zidon and Tyre, these Canaanites, because they're that a snare unto us. Now from there, I'm going to go to Joshua 22:13. Alright, just about finished. Joshua 22:13. It says, and the children of Israel sent unto the children of Reuben and to the, no, Joshua 22, is it 23? Someone Joshua, yeah, 23:13. Listen to what Joshua said. Moses already told us in Numbers. Listen to what Joshua said. Know for a certainty that the Lord your God will no more drive out any of these nations from before you. Talking about those Canaanites. But they shall be snares and traps unto you, and scourges in your sides, and thorns in your eyes, until ye perish from off this good land, which Yahweh your power hath given you. So the Most High told us we're gonna have to deal with the repercussion for not driving out those nations. Because you have certain tribes like Dan, and certain tribes like I believe it was Ephraim, or some nations, certain tribes didn't drive out the Canaanites. They ended up making a covenant, making a pact with them. So that was judgment placed upon us. So now we ended up sinning and going off, and we were driven out of the land of Israel because those Canaanites led to our downfall. Just like during the time of Adam. Alright? Just like now, a lot of our people are led through the era of the wicked, through these modern day Canaanites, through their religious system, through their science. You understand? Because they worship the same gods that these Canaanites worship. They follow the same philosophy, same education system. You understand? Because America's modern day Canaan all over again. Now from there, I want to go to Zechariah chapter 14 and verse 12. The book of Zechariah chapter 14 and 12. I'm going to bring this out. It says, no, Zechariah 14 and 20. And that day, what day is this? When we're returned in our land of Canaan, when we're back in the land of Israel, when we're delivered out of this hellhole called Babylon and through the four corners of the earth. And that day shall there be upon the bells of the horses holiness unto the Lord, and the pots in the Lord's house shall be like the bowls before the altar. Yea, every pot in Jerusalem and in Judah shall be holiness unto the Lord of hosts. And all they that sacrifice shall come and take of them and seed therein. We're going to be in the kingdom. Listen to what the Lord said. And in that day, so when we're delivered, there shall be no more Canaanite in the house of the Lord of hosts. Why did the Lord say there's going to be no more Canaanites? Because this goes back and fulfills that curse in Genesis the 9th chapter. Curse shall be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be unto his brother. They're going to be servants and handmaids in that day. They're not going to be snares and thorns unto us anymore. Because Esau is going into captivity. Alright, and I'm going to show you that. These ancient Canaanites, and let me show you something real quick. Let me bring this up. Ecclesiastes. Because you may be walking around, you may not know or seen, you shake somebody's hand or you ask them what's your nationality. They're not going to say that they're Canaanites. But there's actual Canaanites still out there. How do you know that? Because the Lord says so. Look, Ecclesiastes 4:16. There is no end of all the people, even of all that have been before them. They also that come after shall not rejoice in him. Surely this also is vanity and vexation of spirit. So there's no end of all the people. So the Edomites are still here. The Israelites are still here. The Moabites, the Ammonites, the Canaanites are still here of antiquity. So those Canaanites are not going to be in the land of Israel. Wherever they're at now, they're not going to be in that land. They're going to be servants and handmaids for us as a nation of people. And when I say they're not going to be in that land, which means they're not going to be thorns and briars unto us, and pricks and snares unto us. They're not going to be able to boast themselves and worship Molech and do all of those different things. They're going to be servants and handmaids. How do you know that? Because the Lord told you that, which is the topic of this video. Genesis, the 9th chapter. It says, and he said, cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be unto his brother. Right, because in that day when we're delivered, the Lord promised that there's going to be no more Canaanites in the house of the Lord. Alright? And I showed you that these are your modern day Canaanites. I'm talking about Esau. Now listen, I'm going to go to this Genesis 27. And I'm going to go to Genesis 27 and 39. It says, now this is a blessing that Isaac gave Esau. Alright? Now listen to the blessing he gave Esau. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth. So Esau was given the fatness of the earth, all of the precious lands, you understand, all of the top kingdoms, and then the earth will be given unto the wicked Esau, and the dew of heaven from above. And by thy sword thou shalt live, meaning you will live by the force of the sword, or by your gun, or by your military might. That's how you will be able to be prosperous. And shall serve thy brother. What does it mean he will serve our brother? He will ultimately is going to go into captivity. Because pursuant to Genesis 25, it said the elder shall serve the younger. Alright, and he served us during the time of King David as well. And he's going to serve us again. And it shall come to pass when thou shalt have the dominion that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. meaning they rebelled against us, King David, during the time of David, and then they came back into power ultimately now, and during the Roman Empire and the Greek and certain parts of history. So the yoke that we had over them, they broke it from off their neck. But the main part I wanted to bring out is that they would serve their brother. That goes all the way back to a servant shall he be unto his brother, because Esau and Canaan are the same thing. This fulfills that curse. Let's go to Slocky. Let me go to Genesis 25, because I quoted it, but I'm gonna just bring it out real quick. All right, Genesis 25 and 24. And when her days, Slocky, 23. And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations, which are the Israelites and your Edomites, are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. So we're never meant to get along with the so-called white man. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. So Esau at the end of the day is going to be a servant unto his brother. What did the Lord say in Genesis the 9th chapter? These same Canaanites, it said you're going to be a servant unto your brother. So you see how these prophecies are being repeated and repeated because the Bible repeats itself over and over. So I showed you how the ancient Canaanites, that he actually told Canaan, you're going to serve your brother. Alright? He didn't serve Shem, he served, the Canaanites are going to serve the Israelites. These modern day Canaanites, which are these Edomites, they're going to serve the Israelites. The elder shall serve the younger. So all of these prophecies are going to be fulfilled once we put these nations in captivity. Genesis 27 is going to be fulfilled. Genesis 25, Genesis 9 and 5. That's why I read in Zechariah, there shall be no more Canaanites in the house of the Lord. Because all of these curses and these prophecies are about to be fulfilled. Now I'm going to go to Genesis 3. I'm going to go to Genesis 3 and 15. Because this was the king of Tyrus. This was this Canaanite in there. This serpent. Listen to what the Lord said, Genesis 3 and 14. And Yahweh said unto the serpent. Now this was an actual man. This was Esau. Alright, or this Canaanite during the time. Because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle. Was not Cain cursed from off the face of the earth? Is not Cain Esau? Is not Esau still the man of sin? Is not his leprosy a sin? Is he not cursed above all people of the earth? And above every beast of the field, and upon thy belly shalt thou go, and thus shalt thou eat all the days of thy life. Meaning they going into captivity. They was up in the caves, but it ultimately means that they're going to go into slavery. All right? Because a serpent doesn't eat dust. You understand? A serpent eats birds and different types of rodents and basically anything it can. All right? It's a carnivore. But it says, when it says, thus shalt thou eat all the days of thy life, they're going into captivity. And it says what? How do you know that? Well, let me read this verse. And it says, and I will put enmity, or enmity is hatred or variance, between thee and the woman. This woman represents Israel, pursuant to Revelation, the 12th chapter, and Jeremiah 6 and 2. The Lord likens Israel into a comely and delicate woman. This isn't talking about Eve. The Lord said he would put enmity between Esau and Israel, between thy seed and her seed, between this seed line of Canaanites, these Canaanites who's going to dwell there. He's going to put enmity between those Canaanites or these Edomites, and enmity between Israel, the Israelites. That's why they always been thorns and snares unto us. That's why we had to destroy them. But now they're still destroying us here in Babylon. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. So they bruised our head, Yahushai, and our head is who the world calls Jesus Christ, pursuant to 1 Corinthians 11 and 3. The head of man is Christ. So they killed Christ during the Roman Empire. They bruised our head. But it says, thou shalt bruise his heel, meaning what? During Genesis, when Esau came out, our hand took hold on Esau's heel, symbolic for us taking Esau out. So in 2nd Ezra 6 and 9, it says, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Meaning what? At the end time, Esau will be serving Jacob. Alright? These Canaanites are going to be serving Shem, pursuing all the way back to Genesis 9. So Genesis 3, Genesis 9, and Genesis 25 and 27 all link up fulfilling the curse that Noah put on Canaan, or how these Edomites and these Canaanites are going to be serving us in the kingdom of the Most High. And when the Lord said, upon thy belly thou shalt go, and thus shalt thou eat all the days of thy life. Let's get a precept on that. Psalms 72. Psalm 72 and 9, I believe. They that dwell in the wilderness, talking about the Israelites, shall bow before him. Who's the him? Yahushua. Alright, when you read this psalm, you would think it's talking about King Solomon, but this is talking about the Messiah. And that's if you're able to receive that. So it says, verse 9, they that dwell in the wilderness shall bow before him, and his enemies shall lick the dust. Meaning they're going to be in that low state. They're going to be in captivity. They're going to be catching hell. Who's the enemies of Yahushua? The nations, mainly Esau and these Canaanites. All right, because they're the ones that crucified Yahushua. Although we delivered him up, they were the ones that did it. So his enemies are going to lick the dust, pursuing all the way back to Genesis. Dust without eat all the days of thy life. Isaiah 49 and 23. It says, and kings shall be thy nursing fathers, and their queens their nursing mothers. Thou shalt bow down to thee. They shall bow down to thee with their face toward the earth, and lick up the dust of thy feet. They're going to be doing that for 1,000 years till they get exterminated. That's what it means. Dust shalt thou eat all the days of thy life, because they're going to be in slavery. These other nations are going to be bowing down before us. We have to bow down before them. We have to say yes, sir, and yes, master, and all these different things to these devils. They're going to bow down before us and lick up the dust of thy feet. And this is literal. It's not a parable. It's not a similitude. It's not an allegory. This is straightforward, black and white. They're going to lick the dust of our feet. And thou shalt know that I am the Lord, for they shall not be ashamed that wait for me. All right, so these nations, pursuing all the way back to Genesis and the curse of Canaan, they all are the same thing. They're going to lick up the dust of our feet because they're going into captivity. How do you know they're going into slavery? Maybe some people don't know. Let's go to Jeremiah 30 and 16. It says, therefore, all they that devour thee shall be devoured. We're devoured by Esau right now. We getting shot and killed in the streets, you understand? They lynching us, our people coming up missing. We in captivity. We in this prison system. We don't have a nationality, an identity, a homeland, a sense of hope, a sense of self. We're spiritually and mentally drained, and we're devoured by these thorns and briars in our side. And all thine adversaries, every one of them. Who's our adversaries? These nations shall go into captivity. The Lord didn't say some of them. The good ones going to be delivered. The Lord didn't say nothing like that. He said every one of them shall go into captivity. From little Tommy to grown-ass Susie, they are going into captivity. And they shall spoil, and they that spoil thee shall be a spoil, and all that prey upon thee shall be a prey. All right, so they going into slavery. They're going to lick up the dust of our feet. Revelation 13 and 9. Revelation 13 and 9. Get the classic. It says, if any man have an ear, let him hear. So if you're able to understand, get to understand it. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. So Esau led us into captivity. They're going into captivity. They killed us with the sword. They're going to be killed with the sword. Here's the patience and the faith of the saints. So this is all goes back to the very topic of the video, or the breakdown, in Genesis 9 and 25. And he said, cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be unto his brother. Why? Because these modern day Canaanites, which are your Edomites, mainly dwelling here in America, and these ancient Canaanites, they all have to live out this curse. They all have to live out this prophecy. Because like I said, with the Most High, there's spiritual places, and then there's physical places. Like the Lord said in Revelation 11 and 8, this place is spiritual Sodom. Those Sodomites were Canaanites. It tell you that in Genesis 10. So this is obviously Sodom. He said this is spiritual Sodom and Gomorrah. They carry that same vibration as them Sodomites, which were Canaanites during the time. All right, so you got to get the understanding. And this curse was sent by the hand of Noah, the prophet, to put Esau all the way in captivity. Once before, it was told to him in Genesis, the 3rd chapter. It was repeated to, basically being repeated to Esau, if you can understand, in Genesis, the 9th chapter. It was told to him again in Genesis, the 25th chapter. And it was told again by the mouth of the prophets. And I'm going to tell you right now, Esau, you're going into slavery. You're going to be a servant unto your brother. And he said, blessed be the Lord God of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. So Canaan is going to be our servant. Esau is going to be our servant at the end of the day. So now you should understand who these Canaanites are. You have physical Canaanites of antiquity, like the Jebusites, the Girgashites, the Hivites, and the Hittites. And you have the spiritual Canaanites, which are your Edomites. And they all are the same people. Tyre, Zidon, these Canaanites, they're all the same thing under the sun. No new thing is under the sun. Alright, now from there I'm going to get two more scriptures. I'm going to go to Obadiah 1 and 18. Because after 1,000 years, Esau is going to be exterminated. Obadiah 1 and 18. It says, and the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau a stubble, and they shall kindle in them and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for the Lord hath spoken it. And that go back to Zechariah 14:2. There's going to be no more Canaanites, no more Edomites. The last verse in Zechariah, the 14th chapter, is the same thing. There's going to be no more of them on the face of the earth. They're going to be exterminated in a bonfire. Dig a pit, throw them in a hole, light them up, and they're finished. Every Edomite. And the whole earth is going to rejoice. And we're going to throw a damn feast for 70 years. Alright? Well, I don't know how long we're going to throw a feast. Probably forever. Job 20 and 7. Job 20 and 29. This is the last verse I'm going to get. Alright? Actually, I'm going to get two more. One more after this. Job 20 and 29. It says, this is the portion of a wicked man from God, and the heritage appointed unto him by God. So all of the prophecies have to be fulfilled for Esau, his fate, his destruction, even him rising into power, even him taking down these different dark nations, even him establishing his sovereignty and spreading his wings over the earth. All of this was appointed for him by the Most High. He had to fulfill the role that he was given. This was the lot of his inheritance. He was made to be destroyed, and he was made to be that anointed cherub that covered. That's why Yahushua was made manifest, so he could destroy him and give us eternal life. Alright? So this is, and take away that wine and give us that living water. This is the portion of a wicked man from God, and the heritage appointed to him by God. So this heritage of Esau, of him being these Canaanites, was appointed to him all the way during the time of Adam. This was declared from the beginning. And that's the last verse I'm going to show you. Isaiah 46 and 10. Alright, Isaiah 46 and 10. Bring the classic out. I don't know what that's about. It's declaring the end from the beginning. So the Most High wrote the movie, wrote the script. He's the producer. Yahushua and the angels, mainly Yahushua, he was the director. And now we have to live out this movie. He declared the end from the beginning. He put it in a DVD and pressed play. So we just living out the Most High's movie. He declared the end all the way from the beginning. He already knew what was going to happen with Esau. He knew what was going to happen with the Canaanites. Everything has to be fulfilled because he does everything for his pleasure. Because he want to do it. The Lord do what he want to do. You can't turn his hand or stop your fate, Esau. You can't try to alter the prophecy. Jake, you can't make yourself part of the elect. You can't go back into the world if you're not destined to go back into the world. You can't do nothing that the Most High don't make you do. Because he declared the end from the beginning. And from ancient times, the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure. So ultimately, that curse of Canaan goes back because the Lord did it, and he wanted to do it. Alright, so this is Brother Nachman coming back at you with these precepts, and you should understand that I'm a bid you. Shalom.